One size does not fit all. If you've ever thought as a care partner, I can talk to strangers just fine. It's easy, it flows, it's natural. But with my spouse, it's like walking on eggshells where every word feels like work, then this episode is for you. Last time we looked at supported conversation for adults with aphasia, abbreviated as SCA. That's the foundation. Acknowledge, reveal, verify. But today's episode, we're building on that with better conversations for aphasia, also known as BCA. This approach stops you from trying to use a one-size-fits-all script. Because the truth is, no two couples communicate the same way, before or after aphasia. By the end of this episode, you'll know how to spot the barriers that keep derailing you and the facilitators that make things easier so you can start making progress without the guessing games. This is for care partners who feel stuck in repetitive misfires, where it feels like no matter what you're doing, the message doesn't land or you keep missing each other. SCA gave us the basic moves, but now we're going to build on the concept of slowing down, waiting, verifying, and we're going to use BCA, Better Conversations for Adults with Aphasia, and we're going to zoom out and notice patterns. And when you put together these two powerful techniques, SCA with BCA, you're going to get practical daily connections. When interacting with my husband, who does not have aphasia, the lesson still applies. He is an analytical, detail-driven scientist. He's more about the bottom line, the big picture. He does not get caught up in the weeds unless it's absolutely necessary for clarification. So if I'm talking to him about something important and there are details, if I go into that conversation just kind of winging it, I don't have all the details. I won't be able to necessarily answer the pointed questions he might have that he needs for understanding. Or I might talk about details that I think are important, but he doesn't think are important. And then sometimes that devolves into where I feel like I'm being corrected. Like I came in half-baked and didn't have what I needed in front of me to help with this conversation. And I often end up feeling like small. I feel defensive. I feel inadequate. Like, why didn't I make the effort to do this in a different way? So what I started to do is in the situation where we have to work through details or circumstances, something different than did you water the plants? I'm talking about something like travel plans. I started doing my research and I'd have my notes and I would have the notes with me. I would pick the timing, right? I'm not doing it right when he gets off a call, from work because he's probably still thinking about that call. I'm going to pick my timing better. Of course, the exception is if it's something urgent. Then I would lead the conversation with, honey, I have something urgent I need to talk to you about. And then he will stop what he's doing, he'll shift his attention, and then we'll talk about my subject. So writing notes, picking timing. The other thing I get clear on is what I need from him. Do I need a decision or do I just need him to listen so I can vent? When I can take my conversation a step further and let him know the role that I want from him, it goes so much better because sometimes I will go into a conversation wanting to just share something super exciting or eventful, but then he starts hammering me with this question, that question, when really all I wanted him to do was listen and acknowledge the story I wanted to share with him. Does this make sense? I wanted to give you a real life example because sometimes when we talk about communication from the aphasia perspective, we get caught up in our own weeds, meaning because every person's aphasia is a little different. The struggle. Conversations don't break because you're bad at them. They might break because of hidden patterns. Remember, I talked about winging it when it was an important topic versus winging it when I have a fun story to share where I just want him to listen. Barriers could be, for aphasia, interruptions. Remember Joey's story where his wife interrupted him when he was listening to a show on TV? Interruptions in the middle of a conversation. Your husband is telling you something and you need a clarification right in the middle of his sentence, and then you just derailed his whole thought process. The wrong timing. Asking too many questions at one time, whether it's like a loaded question where you throw in a lot of extra details, or you add in 2 questions all at once, all in one breath. Or having things like distractions like TV or the dog or the phone's ringing. But then the opposite side of barriers are facilitators. Facilitators are small shifts, like sitting at the table to have a conversation over dinner versus trying to compete with the TV. Or like me, writing things down like details and giving my full attention to that conversation to get to whatever needs to be decided in that conversation. It's also about being present, not walking through a room like a drive-by question asker, right? We all do this. I know you're guilty of this, so I'm calling you out now. It's also about giving eye contact and being quiet. The insight. Better Conversations for Aphasia teaches you to spot and name these patterns. You don't have to solve everything at once. Just find one barrier and one facilitator. Research shows that naming these patterns help couples actually change them in real life. This kind of sounds like marriage counseling 101, doesn't it? Well, it also is about aphasia. We have to speak much more intentionally when we have a person in our life who has aphasia. They have language issues. They have difficulty shifting attention. Distractions are going to bother them. Fatigue is going to be an issue as well. All of these are barriers. So then we have to figure out how do we break these barriers and use facilitators instead. The shift. When you combine these 2 techniques, SCA with BCA, you get both tools and awareness. Joey nailed this by understanding that his barriers were dinner in front of the TV or not having had enough time with his wife to talk before the TV went on, led to constant fights. What was his facilitator? Moving dinner to the table without the distraction so that he could give his wife the attention she needed so that they could have the conversation. This one shift gave his wife connection time, and then it also gave him the space to enjoy TV without interruptions. Sounds simple, right? But if you have a situation like this that happens predictably day after day after day, that grinds. So we need to look at barriers and facilitators. Joey didn't fix every barrier. He fixed one. And it made such an improvement in their evenings that he was motivated to find other ways to facilitate their communication. So here's my question for you. What's one barrier and one facilitator in your conversations at home right now? Can you think of a situation that recurs every day or weekly or multiple times in a week? Can you name what they are? Can you write them down and start looking at it from the perspective of facilitators and barriers? Take some time as this episode ends. Write these things down. Get your thoughts on paper, because writing it down helps you to process it versus letting these thoughts float around in your head. Try swapping one barrier for one facilitator this week. Please don't overthink this. Just one shift can make enough of a difference, help you feel more connected, and have better communication with your person with aphasia. Then you can build on it. The small rocks add up over time to big rocks. Not every couple needs the same fix. The best communication strategy is the one that matches who you are and how you connect. You might need to go back and think about, how did you both communicate successfully together? Like, I had to take into account how my husband approaches situation so that I can find my facilitators to make sure we had the best communication. If this feels like where you are and would love to understand more, get more insights about your caregiving journey, I encourage you to click on the link below for our Care Partner Strengths Compass. It's free, it's simple, and it's going to show you where you're strong and where you could use some support. The link is below. Until next time, listen for life and take back what matters.